The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Voch Lombardi, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday, June 11, 2025, season 21, episode number 14. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are recovering from a late dinner last night, or at least three of us are. Amber didn't go.
I did not get the invite.
You didn't get the invite? I sent it to you. It was a great
Somebody
dinner.
looking for we don't
Really was a
promote
great dinner.
violence around here.
Wow.
No, we don't.
Fantastic dinner, man. You know, I had
Good
to
for
tap some
y'all.
people- I
Tell
had to
me
tap
more
some
about
people
it.
on the
Describe
shoulder.
it.
Well, first things first, I had to get counsel, right? I had to call my mother. I said, Mother, we're having this company dinner thing to celebrate the draft show and how we did and all that. She said, son, don't go in there and order everything. I was like, Mom, Jerry Jones writing the check. She said, well, go in there and order everything.
Get everything.
I was like, all right, cool. And Bryan Broaddus confirmed it again. So we ordered a little bit of everything. But
It was a good
thank you
dinner.
very much. Thank you very much for having
Thank you to Mr. Jones. That was nice.
Love that for y'all.
Yeah.
That's great. That's amazing.
Don't be hating that, bro.
No, I'm being genuine.
So we can
I'm
have a
glad-
Somos dinner? Do we need to have a Somos dinner for you and Laura?
At some point.
Okay, for you and Laura, we'll do a Somos dinner and we'll go to...
No, but glad
Yeah.
glad that you had the chance to experience the paid by Jerry
Ambar
meal.
had it for me. I feel it. That was real right there. That was real. Thank you so much.
It is quite the
she's had
experience.
to pay by Jerry dinner,
Yeah,
so yeah.
So I'm glad you.
That's nothing to you at this point.
I didn't get to tell the story about the time at the Combine where I've never drank wine before. You know, I'm not a big wine drinker. And the gentleman passed the table and he said, would you like some wine? I said, no, thank you. And Chris Hall from College Scouting leaned over and goes, you might want to get a glass of this one. I said, really, what's up? He goes, that's a $6,000 bottle of wine going around the table. And there were two of them going around at the same time. I said, boy, it's great working for this football team right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, got my $6,000 glass of wine.
Some of the perks.
Some of the perks.
Some of the perks. All right, we got a lot of things we're going to get into today. We're going to spend a lot of our time today doing a 2025 offseason wrap. I got some interesting questions. Hopefully they're interesting questions for you guys to basically paint the picture of what this offseason has been. Before we get there, though, I did want to take some time to talk about a couple observations from OTAs that have happened here this week. Yesterday had practice. They have practice today. They'll have a walkthrough tomorrow, and then the players and coaches will have some time to kind of get away and breathe a little bit before we head to training camp in late July. So let's get into some of those observations. I think the biggest thing coming out of yesterday, and obviously you follow DallasCowboys.com, you follow 105.3 The Fan, you follow all the different places where you can get Cowboys content. Everybody's talking about this chemistry between Dak and Pickens. I'm going to throw out these three different observations I have, and what I want you guys to do is tell me, does it mean nothing or does it mean something? The chemistry that was being talked about with regards to Dak and Pickens, and we saw some of those big plays that they were able to make, means something or means nothing?
Chemistry is fine. Chemistry, continuity is cool, but better dudes is awesome. You know, and we've seen Dak go to camp and he'll make some wide receiver that we haven't heard of, a camp name. You know, these guys, these undrafted guys. Hey, TJ Vasher caught a great pass, a well-placed pass from Dak. But it's just something about like a real superstar wide receiver than another real superstar wide receiver. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. So I'm buying into it. And it doesn't have to be chemistry. We've watched Pickens catch terrible passes from terrible quarterbacks
For his whole career.
So all Dak has to do is throw good passes to George Pickens. Well, that's a lot of chemistry right there, Bryan Broaddus. So I'm definitely buying into that for Kemp, for sure.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, I thought it was going to take a little bit, and we were a little bit concerned going in how much availability that Dak would practice. And then all of a sudden, you kind of got the green light from initial, practices that we were able to attend as the media. So that was a positive. I was thinking, maybe some side stuff, Dak yard, trying to catch things up, by the time we get to Oxnard. But it already looks like that these two have found a way to kind of connect on some things. And that's the great thing about George Pickens. And we've talked about this a bunch. When you're a guy that can contort and be a bad ball catcher, put the ball wherever, he's going to make a lot of plays. And I think that's the best thing in the world for a quarterback, not just Dak Prescott. I mean, anybody. You have a guy that is a bad ball catcher, even when the balls are good, man, that's a big plus. I think where you're going to take even advantage of George Pickens even more is Dak's accuracy hitting him on the move and letting him go. Because there's a lot of times in George Pickens' career where we haven't been able to see him take advantage of really what kind of ball carrier he is once he gets the ball in his hands.
Well, based on history and time of things that we've watched during training camp and practices, not really carry over to game day plays. And fans saying, well, that doesn't mean anything. Well, what else do you want us to talk about? That is what is currently happening. There's nothing else to talk about on the team than what you get to observe during these practices. And better be positive. So be happy and get excited. Whether it's going to translate on the field on a game day or not, that is yet to be seen. We got to wait. But at the moment, this is exciting. This is something new. And it's definitely something to keep looking forward to as we continue to move along.
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned the accuracy of Dak and some of these quicker routes. I saw yesterday one of the plays that really stood out to me. It was kind of a whip route. For those who don't know what that is, kind of you break in and then you kind of whip back out to the outside.
Right.
And it showed Pickens' ability to be able to create separation, number one, because he got like 2 yards on the defender and then catches the ball and he's up the field and headed toward the end zone. And that was the kind of thing where I'm like, I think the beauty of having these two receivers in this offense is going to give you that ability that if a team is going to say we're going to play man coverage or even in a zone situation where these guys are going to have the ability to be able to create separation and get the ball in their hands, now it can turn into a really big play off of something that's really a simple route. And that's what I think the Cowboys have missed for a little bit here since the time that they had Amari Cooper. They haven't had two guys that were able to do that consistently.
The challenge is now with the coordinator and the head coach and the offensive staff really is to find ways to take advantage of that. Ambar's talking about there's some positivity that you've seen, absolutely, and that's great. We saw a little bit of the quick game last week. Looked like yesterday a little bit more of the ball going to the outside. Voch and I always talk about this, though. Try and extend the offense. We don't the hooks, the curls, and things like that. Trying to extend this offense, and you could do that. Put these guys on move. We've seen CD on the move. We've seen George Pickens on the move. These guys make plays. So, yeah, the thing about it is that ability. The challenge now is for Brian Schottenheimer and the staff is to make sure that they have a lot of things available to Dak and a lot of ways that he can get the ball to these guys. Don't just limit this thing. These guys are too good of players just to kind of limit them. Make sure that you're able to keep that playbook wide open, but take advantage of some of the things they're really, really good at.
Let's move to observations number 2. Tight end Brevin Spann-Ford got some looks with the starters. That means something or mean nothing?
That's odd, isn't it?
And then I asked if Ferguson was injured, and I got no, he's just fine. I think they're trying to make Spann-Ford more comfortable with the offense. And I think if Spann-Ford can get he's a big guy. He's not very nimble when it comes to pass receiving. You look at his hand placement. If he could kind of control that and be able to be a little bit more secure in the way that he places his hands, he's going to have a lot of times where guys are on his back. There's not a lot of separation. So he's got to find a way to be more comfortable. The routes were very limited with him last year, more of a blocker. But he has the kind of ability, though, if he could just work on being more secure and confident in his hands, they might actually find something here.
That is fair, Brian. But then I thought about something. What if we're really going to get run game stuff? Like we've been hearing coaches preach it to us, right? Hey, man, we're going to run the football this year. We're going to run the football this year. And we'll go out and throw it 50 times a game. That's cool. But Brevin Spann-Ford is your run blocky guy. Schoonmaker is your run blocky guy. So if Ferguson is healthy, I don't think Ferguson just rolled out the bed bad at ball one day, right? Maybe in my mind, this is some kind of, all right, we're going to do mostly runs in this drill, right? Just mostly run fits and things of that nature. And if you're a head coach, OC, and you want to use personnel properly, I would imagine that if you're going to run the ball most of the time, Brevin Spann-Ford was like 270. Yeah. And Jake's a cool run blocker, but Brevin Spann-Ford is 270. So I don't think this is going to be a thing. This is still early camp. If we get to training camp and Brevin's out there day one with the ones, then we can come back and talk about it on the break and try to get some views for it. But I think this is more, Brevin leaning on people. This is, working with Terrence Steele leaning on people and those guards and all those guys. I don't think Jake's going anywhere.
I believe exactly the same thing. I think it's too early to take anything as a true indicator of what's going to actually happen. I think once we do get into training camp, that's when you're more careful about who's getting the most reps with what team, first team, second team, and all of that, because then you're really truly starting to prepare for the season. At this moment, I think it's a good thing to give other guys opportunities and let them try things, and let's take a quick look before we get into training camp so that they have a better idea into what kind of concept, who are we really trying to focus on once we get there in California.
One thing that greatly bothered me last year is we went into this season knowing, okay, you're going to need Tyler Guyton. You're going to need Cooper Beebe. And just one day at practice, me and Brian just talking about it, they're with the third team.
Yeah.
What they doing over there? Yeah. Why they over there? And the reasoning was also they can get more reps. How about more reps versus the first team guys? Because when we get to the games, that's who they're going to be seeing. So maybe Brevin has a new role this year where, hey, Brevin, we need you, and you're probably going to be blocking first team edge guys. So let's not put you against the third team edge guys. Let's put you against some real dudes so that you can get acclimated, so that you can know what blocking with Terrence is like as opposed to blocking with Hakeem Adeniji or something like that. Yeah. So maybe there's just more for Brevin there.
Yeah, and I'll even throw this in. I think as an addition to that point, I think if you really want to be able to use Brevin Span forward more on, because you're going to be having more rundowns, you probably want to improve his pass catching a little bit more and be more comfortable with that. Because if you're more comfortable with that, then you don't have to tip your hand and take him off the field planning the throw. You can keep him on the field, and he can be a kind of a dual threat and someone that can really work in. I don't think this is about Ferguson. I think this is about development of Brevin Span.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think everybody's made really good points about this. The thing that bothers me about Span forward is, though, he doesn't look comfortable catching the ball. Mm-hmm. You know, it looks like he fights it a little bit. And the more that you can get him and comfortable in running routes, and then Dak and the other quarterbacks having the ability to get him the ball, and then he could show, okay, hand placement. Okay, if I got a guy on my back, okay, I got to protect and I got to extend. And I think that's the one thing. If you want Span forward to jump this year, make him a better pass catcher. That would be a big thing for him.
But I will say, this may not be about Jake, but what does it say about Luke? Luke is a second-round pick, and you have expectations for a second-round pick. Less than Brevin, probably a little more than Jake, though.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you on that. I'm just saying, though, I think Brevin is such a physical specimen.
100%.
And that's also why I think if you can get him comfortable, and you can, as an offensive play call, if you can be comfortable with him catching the ball, he becomes a really legitimate option just because of his size.
180-pound corner.
That is a big target, on top of the fact that he is a big man and a hard man to take down. So I think if you can get him more involved in the passing game, it only helps your offense.
Well, let the apologists for Schoonmaker speak now, if you don't mind.
Please.
I think I'm looking right at the camera, Voch. And I'm saying it with my chest. So to me, this is, I think with Schoonmaker, I think they know what they have in Schoonmaker. Mm-hmm. I think Schoonmaker showed he can actually catch the football. There were times when Jake Ferguson was out, and we're like, oh, geez, here we go. The seam stuff needs to be a little bit better, but there were some routes where he was able to make some catches and make some, and receptions, and they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe this guy's not a bust. I know everybody was kind of tagging him that type of a guy, but he showed some things playing. I kind of feel like that the plan going in was, how can we push Span forward to get in the level of maybe the other two? Sure. That's what I think this one's really, really all about.
All right, let's get to our final observation here. Micah Parsons was here. He is here in the building, but he is not practicing. Means something or means nothing?
Yeah, he's around. He's a superstar. If you're a superstar and you have seniority, you can do some things that the other guys can't do. That's ball has been that way for years. Even when I was around, if I'm a freshman, I can't do things that the superstar seniors can, So at least he's around. You know what I mean? At least he's talking to coaches. He's talking to his teammates. He may not be practicing because of money and all that, but being around is better than not being around or in Cabo or something. So good.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Definitely good that he's around, and some of the comments that were made yesterday, despite him not practicing, it was said that he was talking to younger guys and giving them advice and being that voice of leadership that Jerry Jones has mentioned before that they're looking for in a guy like him to voice his knowledge and his opinion and help these younger players. So that's something positive. At the same time, I still want to see you out there. We've seen it happen with CeeDee Lamb when they were working that contract, and it took him a while, and then we saw it in games, and it took a few games. I'm not saying we're there yet, but still, that's something to keep an eye on. You want your player, and not that he cannot be ready, but in that case, let's say for some reason now he's holding out, even though he said that he's not going to hold out, he's going to show up at training camp, and he's expected to show up in practice. We still don't know because we're not there yet. If that doesn't go that way and he is holding out, what does that look like when games, we head into the season? We've seen it before where it takes a few games to get your body back into that shape, that pro level shape. So I don't know. It's just I'm kind of getting over this whole situation.
I think AG's onto something here. I'm going to say it's a bad thing.
For sure.
I'm saying it's a bad thing because to me, I feel like this is a two-way street. You need to find a way to get David Mulugheta to the table, and the Joneses need to find a way to get to David Mulugheta. This is a two-way street here. If there needs to be a sense of urgency here. My understanding is that the Cowboys have made some calls. And Mulugheta, has there been discussion here of a late? No, there hasn't. Were there some early indications of some calls? Absolutely, there were some. So something needs to be done. This doesn't need to get to training camp like we were with Zeke and Zach Martin and CeeDee Lamb. This thing needs to be done. And it really is both sides. It really is. I think that's what Jerry Jones was maybe conveying to him yesterday when they had the opportunity to stand out there on the field and talk. He's like, listen, I think the Cowboys do want to negotiate. I think David Mulugheta, I think that, he understands where he is at, but these two sides do need to come together. They do need to talk. They need to get this done before training camp. This does not need to be in something. And this is just me, the former personnel guy, if I had an understanding that I was going to maybe look at a potential holdout, I'm going to sign Von Miller right now. Is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make this something. I'm going to protect myself. And I'm going to say, listen, I've got to find a way if this turns into prolonged holdout, and I'm just saying but if it turns into that, I've got to make up for 16 sacks. So not just all about Von Miller, but about piecing it together where you have guys get 16 sacks and make up for that. But you got to protect yourself here if you're the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're probably thinking about something like that. But I think that the main thing to do here would be both sides get to the table and figure this thing out before we get to Oxnard.
All right, we are going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to define, or actually going to look at several positions, look at what the Cowboys have gained and what the Cowboys have lost this offseason. And we'll ask you guys the question, have they gotten better, worse, or the same? We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Back to the break.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's stay-in-your-car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said that LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment's also brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, here we go. Let's do some. What's wrong?
I was going to talk some crap.
Go ahead.
Where are those TVs that you promised?
Damn.
For the fans.
I didn't know you was talking crap to
We are working on it. Can you give me? By the way,
you're the one who
we got a
brought
whole
it to the
season.
air.
We got a whole season. Just let me work. Let me work.
Okay.
How about that? Let me work.
Okay.
Can I have one of these when y'all get the news?
They're not for in here. They're for fans. We're trying to work out some TV for fans.
I know Voch and I are doing some work. We might need to talk to our people about
Shouts
some
out to LG,
TVs.
OLED, LT, EVO. Yeah, shouts out to y'all.
The Evo?
Huh?
The Evo?
LG, OLED, EVO. Yeah, shouts out to them, man. Yeah. We got some
You trying to see if you can get a TV? Flash the smile. See if you can get a TV.
Work with me.
All right, here we go. We're going to play a little better, worse, same, all right? I'm going to put out a position. I'm going to tell you the players that the Cowboys lost. I'm going to tell you the players that the Cowboys gained. You tell me if they're better, worse, or the same. Let's start with linebacker.
Ooh, I knew you were going to do this.
They lost Eric Kendricks and Nick Vigil. They gained Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn. Better, worse, same.
I'll say it.
Sure, go for it.
Better. They got better. They absolutely got better. Now, we'll see what happens. I do like the Sanborn signing a lot. When you watch him play with the Bears, I think there's times when you watch linebackers and they undercut, say, blocks, and they're thinking like, they undercut that block, they're not going to get back and make that play. This guy has ability. It's uncanny how he's able to kind of dip underneath and get back on plays. I think he's got a really good understanding of where the ball is. I think he's a smart guy. I think he could play him in coverage. I think he plays well at the point of attack. You know, Eric Kendricks was that kind of guy. Eric kind of got wore down as the season wore on. I mean, a lot. You know, he was a double-digit tackle. Good for him. But I think they got better. I think people look at the if you're a believer in metrics and stuff like at Pro Football Focus, the Tennessee linebackers were rated as the worst, some of the worst linebackers in the league last year. Is that them or is that the scheme? I've seen Murray play at a much higher level. I think that maybe some things with Tennessee didn't really translate to the strengths of what Murray can do. I think he's going to give you that better player that we saw with the Chargers. I'm bullish on both of these signings. I think they're going to be better.
There are so many factors here. Because we're all just waiting on Demo, man. When Demo's on the field, the linebacker room looks totally different. I would love to know what happens when he gets healthy, what happens to the guys that are on the field at that point, but we'll have that conversation in November, December, something like that. But you have a linebacker whisperer now. And to Brian's point, Kenneth Murray's a guy that had a lot of natural talent, you know?
did.
And, his downs are like kind of down. And you go, damn, boy, that's down. But his ups are super up. So if you have a linebacker whisperer now, then I guess you would just look for making those ups consistently up. So I have a lot of faith in what Kenny Murray can do. I really like Kendricks last year, but it's going to depend on Demo when he comes back and how healthy he's going to be. I want to know what happens to Louisville. Louisville had to play a little bit last year. How much is he going to get better? But Sanborn this year is probably what Kendricks was last year, right? Like, hey, we got a new DC. Right. I know everything. Let me do this. Let me do this. So
this guy was super productive for Eberflus.
Sure.
That right there in itself gives me some hope.
Yeah. So yeah, better.
I'd say they have the potential to be better. Right now, to me, they're about the same. Again, overshown, that's a huge factor right there. But I do see Liu Fao, a guy like him, taking the next step. He showed so much that was good last year when he was thrown in there. I believe he's going to get even better this year. So overall, right now, I feel they're around the same, but I do see a lot more potential to be better.
Some old dudes, some young dudes, same thing.
All right, let's talk about the running back position. Rico Dowdle is who they lost. They gained Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue. Better, worse, same.
I don't want to say nothing bad about Zeke on the radio, man. He not here no more. But, boy, I was just befuddled at not only running back, but how we use running back. I say we because I'm a Cowboy fan, how they use running back. I think Rico Dowdle was clearly the better guy. He was the bestest running back that we had on the roster. There will be sometimes it seemed like the Cowboys would try to force other players. Rico got sick one game in San Fran, and boy, he was just fine on the sideline, just fine the next. I want to know what happened there. I would love to just ask questions what happened there. So even if the talent last year was better, mismanagement made your running back situation terrible. Scheme made your running back situation terrible. I'm watching Zeke. Shouts out to Zeke. Zeke is good at some things, but why are we running crack tosses with Zeke? That's not his game, right? So even play calling here means something. I think with your new coaches, I think running back automatically gets 2 ticks better. You finally got a juice guy, 2 ticks better. You got some old characters, but by way of how running back is, you never know who your best running back is going to be until they're on the field running better than everybody else. So I think you have to say that the running back situation is better. Talent-wise, I don't know. But the running back situation for sure is much better than it was last year. Assuming Scheidenheimer's not running crack tosses with Phil Moff and Williams or something like that. But I don't know. We'll see.
I think they didn't end up getting that crazy explosive running back that you were hoping to be like the guy. Mm-hmm. But I'm 100% in agreement with everything that you said.
And I don't
all day today. I don't like it that much though. But I have to say what I have to.
I'd be worried.
I don't worry about that. No, the thing is, I think it comes down more towards like what's happening with the coaching. Yeah. That's where the improvement really is, and what's happening with the O-line. I do believe it's going to improve in that area. The play calling, along with that, they're going to be able. My expectation is they're going to be able to call better plays and position players in the best way possible, like really cater to what they're best at and not just doing random things and hoping for the best.
Boy, I swing so violently about this position because I want them to prove me wrong. Yeah. I really, really do. I have a lot of questions about the running backs. Yeah. But in the media portions of practice, everybody's telling me about, it looks like that Miles Sanders has got some juice. Oh, look at this run. Look at this. I know what Blue is. I'm excited about Blue. I really, really am excited about that one. It's the other ones I have a question mark about. Those are the others. I kind of know what Williams is. I think he catches the ball well. He's a pass blocker. Can they put this together to get a back that, when they need it, they have a guy that can handle that job? But man, I go from these things are going to be fine to, boy, they're going to have to really switch this thing up. I do not have a great answer for this one because I feel like, though, I'm kind of teetering towards, please prove me wrong. I'm not on board with what's going on right now, but please prove me wrong. I will be happy to say that I was wrong about a position, but I violently swing on this one.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the interesting thing here is that last year, I think a lot of the issues and the successes when they had them in the run game were more about the offensive line than the running back particularly. And I think right now, I look at this group and I think they have enough different skill sets with these running backs to where they can piece them together to get a good running game if the offensive line plays their part. And I do expect the offensive line is going to be a little bit better. And if that happens, I think the running game will be a little bit better because they will have guys that can do more than what they could get out of that twosome from last year. All right, real quick before we go to break, this one I think I put in here just because I think we have to say it. I think I know what everybody's answer is going to be, though. But wide receiver, you lose Brandon Cooks, you gain George Pickens. Better, worse, same?
George Pickens is a dude. Wide receiver's better.
Better. And if you'd asked the question about the offensive line, I think we'd had an argument.
Well, we're going to do a whole show about the offensive line.
Okay, gotcha.
When we get to training camp.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah, quick answer, better.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to our final break. When we come back, we'll talk about the defensive end position. I do think there's some interesting conversation to be had there. And a guy that Brian actually liked a lot last year, Carl Lawson, that's no longer on this team, still sitting out there in free agency. I heard you mention another name. Maybe he's a guy they ought to be looking at if they happen to need a pass rusher. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag & Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag & Turf, the official Ag & Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Man, you're really good at that.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back. It's final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're doing better, worse, same. Let's talk defensive end. Cowboys lost DeMarcus Lawrence, Chauncey Golston, Carl Lawson, and they have added Dante Fowler Jr., Peyton Turner, and Donovan Ezaraku. Are they better, worse, or the same?
We're gonna have to see what Nealon brings to the party here. Like, you know, we know that he's an upside pass rushy guy, but he's really a rundown guy. And you know, D end is rundowns and pass rushing. I got a question about pass rushing when we're done here, but you know. Last year, Chauncey Golston was a guy that was being championed here, right? And Chauncey played well, but you want Chauncey to play well as like your fourth edge guy. You don't want Chauncey to be like your first edge guy. You know, we talked about Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson played cool. But you want him to be like later on down the line, right? You really want superstar type stuff, type guys. Dante Fowler was here, and even when he was playing here and there, we were like, hey, Dante Fowler's the better pass rush here. Why isn't Dante Fowler playing? And then he goes to Washington with Dan Quinn. I'm curious how that works out. And he gets all the reps there, and he's a double-digit sack guy. So I can only imagine that when Dante gets here, he'll be used as a double-digit sack guy. Donovan Ezeraku's fun? Sure. I would say that edge kind of gets a little bit better. We'll see.
Got better. I think, in Voch and I, our work on the draft show, we talked about with Ezeraku and what, there were a lot of, not just media scouts, there were a lot of guys that I talked to around the league the scouts that were like really, really high on this player. Dallas feels like they stole one here. Mm-hmm. If you visit with people in the organization and, with the coaches and stuff, they'll tell you they stole one in Ezeraku. We'll see how it all plays out for him, but he is the one guy that, when we were watching tape, when Voch and I were doing the college stuff, him, Mike Green from Marshall, they ended up at Baltimore. These were guys, bendy, get underneath blockers, cause problems, that kind of guy. I mean, it's a lot different having to coach those guys. The guy's already got the talent. You just got to make sure you put him in position to make those kinds of plays. I do think they got better, though. But I'll tell you what, though, they've got to get this Micah Parsons thing done. And like we talked about earlier, really the sooner the better.
Well, counting with Micah Parsons, someone that, let's say, go through the training camp and we're set to go for the start of the season, I like how this group looks. I think they are better. And when you start looking at also the combination with the defensive tackles and what's happening there, that's something exciting to look at. I expect this year to even be a lot better for Osa. Based on what he did last year, I would imagine it continues, and even I don't think he's reached the ceiling. I don't think he's reached his max. Also looking forward to what Solomon Thomas brings to the table. When you see him, I don't know, we'll see. Is it all muscles? I don't know. We'll see what he does when we get to a game day. But when you see that power and the force being combined with all these different guys, I'm excited to actually see it all come together and see how much pressure they can get this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Jeff Summer?
I got a question about your edges there.
Go for it.
Question for the table. In 2022 or so, I believe the Cowboys ended like number 2 in sacks, like that year. And that was like young Micah, D-Law, who's not really a pass rush guy, phenomenal rundown guy, right? But not really a pass rush guy. Dorrance Armstrong, you can say what you feel about him as a pass rusher. Dante, who wasn't getting a bunch of reps as a pass rush, but that team still ended up second in sacks. Young Sam Williams. You got a older Micah Parsons, right? Mm-hmm. Donovan Ezeraku, who's a rookie. Mm-hmm. But, he's a sack guy. He'll be mostly used as a sack guy. Double-digit sack, Dante Fowler. You don't know what you have with Marshawn Nealon just yet, and Sam with a chip on the shoulder trying to get a new contract. Do you think that the pass rush, maybe not run down because D-Law's not here, right? Pass rushing, can we get sacks? Do you think that this pass rush group is better than 2022's pass rush group that was second in the league in sacks?
Here's my question.
Sure.
My question would be, is the scheme going to be dictating that they're going to be rushing the passer as effectively as they did back then? Because if you remember, a lot of that was about the fact that when Quinn came in here, he got that defense into a situation where they were really good going to get the quarterback. And I don't know if it was just the talent.
Played with leads.
Talent. I think it was the talent, and I think it was the leads. I think it was also how they play football. Now, that also exposed them at times in the run game because they were so aggressive when it came to going to get the quarterback. So I don't know if Eberflus is going to run that same kind of scheme to where he's going to be like, hey, we're going to sell out to go get the quarterback sometimes. And that way the production ends up being the same. I will say man for man, if you're looking at talent for talent, I would say this group is every bit as talented from a pass rush standpoint as that group. I think the scheme will be the difference.
I think I like what Derek's saying with the scheme. I'll disagree on something, though. I think that Eberflus, what I heard from the coaches when we had a chance to visit with them on, when we were working on the draft, was the one thing. I know on the offensive side of the ball, they were talking about the ability to adapt to the players you have. I don't think you could be stupid and say, okay, hey, I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm not going to use all these talented players as a pass rushers. I think you have to figure out ways to do this. I don't think you just sit there and say, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to, draw it up and here we go, that kind of thing. Yeah. I think if you've got players, Fowler, Williams, Parsons, Ezeraku, you got guys that can rush the passer. don't be foolish and just say, okay, we're going to settle into a shell and just when we can rush and just, play that way. No, the one thing that the last couple of coordinators have figured out here is how aggressive you are with these rushers, you can have some success. I don't think Eberflus is foolish enough not to try that.
I think they have, based on purely talent and what we expect, they can be that team again. They can be those guys again. I don't feel like I'm lacking anything at the moment. It's just you got to wait and see to actually see it in effect and happening. But right now I feel good about the bodies being capable of doing and getting to the quarterback just as much as they did in that year.
Thank you guys so much.
Let's move on to cornerback. Let's talk about the cornerback position. They lost Jordan Lewis. They gained Savone Revel and Zaire Elam. They better or worse or the same?
Everybody hurt, man. I don't know. We have corners in this room and their knees hurt. So is it when they come back? Hey, when Diggs and Josh and those guys come back, I think Revel's going to be a good player one day.
I do.
He's a rookie, and he's coming off that knee. And if you take a look at what Kalen Carson said as a rookie, like, hey man, the game's fast. Maybe you can think that Kalen Carson takes the next leap. Just being a year 2 guy. I've seen this before. I've done this one time. Maybe I'll be a little better, and Revel's the guy that has to sit, chill, and next year he'll be who he really is. But I think as far as this cornerback group, you got Bland, and that's kind of all you got right now.
I could see this group being much like what we saw last year with the defensive line. I could see them just rolling a bunch of guys in. And they rolled guys through last year, too. They made some trades and tried some guys. And guys
it was tough on them last year.
Guys got banged up and stuff like that. I think everybody knows. Healthy, this team has probably gotten better. But right now, there's so many questions. I do love Reveal. I do. Absolutely. He was my best corner in the draft. When you watched him play at East Carolina, you could watch him out here, how he looks, the length and all that, and how competitive he is. Get that guy going. Get, Bland going again. A healthy, training camp for Bland. All these things would be, I think, a positive here. But I have a feeling you're going to see them roll through some corners in training camp and try and find some guys until they get things situated like they need it.
How good does Kyer have to be for us to go, all right, we don't need corners anymore? Kyer Elam. How good does he have to, does he have to be just serviceable? Can he be does he have to be really good for us to not think about bringing in? Let's just say Gilmore or something, right?
I still think Gilmore's probably
Gilmore.
coming in. I still think Gilmore's probably coming in. I think we're going to get into training camping. They're going to call Gilmore. There's some names out there right now. Sure. I don't think the Alexander one. Again, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here.
He's good.
Yeah, but if he's in fact released, which I think they have, but I don't think they would go that route. We've talked about a guy on another team because he's potentially have to do a trade there. That's kind of where people are focusing. But I think that the thing with Gilmore is a possibility there, because I think they're going to need they're looking for a veteran guy that can kind of give them a little bit of stability. They're going to see what they have with some of these guys, and then it's probably going to be like, okay, we need to go get a veteran guy to kind of shore some things up.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of Gilmore just because I think what you need right now is a Band-Aid for the beginning of the season. If until they can really get a chance to evaluate Trayvon with him working out here, then I don't know if they really know how soon they can expect him back.
That's a great point.
So that being said, I think if you get somebody like Gilmore, and what we saw from Gilmore the last year he was here, I think he started off the season pretty good. As the season wore on, it seems like he got wore down because it's just his play did seem to drop a little bit as the season went on. So if you tell me I can get someone with his talent level and his ability, knowing that he's an older guy, he can maybe give me that first half of the season where he can give me everything he's got. And then by then, hopefully, you got Trayvon in, you got Revel in, and you're back at full health, hopefully. And then if his play, he may or may not be on the field at that point because those guys may take that spot. But the point is he gives you that Band-Aid for the early part of the season. So I love a pick like him. A signing like him for the early part of the year just because you just have so many question marks regarding health at the cornerback position.
And that's the thing with Trayvon. I still don't know how I feel about it. Even if him coming back healthy, quote unquote, fully healthy, what does that exactly look like at this point? I don't know what to really expect from it. Well, okay. Depends what you compare it to.
And you're right. And that was unfair on my part. But I was just sitting there thinking, if you put him into a situation like I say, we know with Booth and what you got with that. We have an idea, Pride, the guys that were kind of Carson. If Carson, I would feel so much better about the situation going into year 2 for Carson if I'd seen some progress in year 1. But there's unknown about him for sure. I mean, they like Josh Butler played really well for him a little bit. There's guys that they've had that have played well, but it's Diggs. Diggs. You need Diggs back. You really do need Diggs back.
And let me say this: I think Diggs gets he gets a little bit of a bum rap when people talk about he ain't that good or whatever. At the end of the day, he might give up some plays. Cornerbacks do that, by the way. He's not a shutdown corner.
Right.
He's not one of the best 1, 2, 3 cornerbacks in the league, but he is more than quality at the cornerback position. Like, he is a good cornerback. He gives up some plays. Okay, great. You name, there are probably in this league right now, are there any real shutdown cornerbacks? There's some good cornerbacks, and there are probably some that are better. I think he gets a bum rap, and it's almost like it's all or none. He's either great or he's not. And if he's not, then he's not worth having. I just don't think that's the case.
I think people are on him because they know we focus on compensation, but we also focus on lack of availability. And I think that's
a fair criticism.
That's the biggest problem. It's like, okay, compensation does not match availability. So now we're kind of, we're thinking about, we're trying to rub 2 nickels together to go sign guys, and that's a little bit of a problem.
And that's where I struggle with right now is with him. He has the talent. We've seen it. He's a great football player, but my memory currently is so faint of like, what do I remember of him doing on the field right now?
Yeah, that's always going to be real good.
But in the last year, because of the injury and all that, I hope that he really is committed to this whole recovery rehab thing, that he's putting in the time and the work to do that properly, and that he can come back in really good shape for the start of the season.
We've had such little time to see him and Bland on the field together. When you think about the scope of their careers together. But when we've seen them on the field together, they've been really good. Yeah. And I just think, can we get to a point where both are healthy, and we can keep both of them on the field, and then give me a little bit of revel with it. Like, I would love to see that threesome on the field for a majority of the season. And I think if you can see that, I think everybody will feel really good about the cornerback position. Now, that's a big leap because you haven't seen it very much. And right now, 2 of those 3 are hurt. So it's just, I think that's the part where the biggest question mark is really about their health.
Yeah.
Can you get this group healthy? And if you can, I think you'll feel really good about them.
One more thing, Diggs may not be top 3, but whenever you played the Vikings, Justin Jefferson really didn't do that much to you. When you played the Bengals, Jamar Chase didn't do that much to you. The Washington Football Wizards, twice a year, Terry McLaurin hates to see Trevon Diggs.
Call him the Washington Football Wizards?
I'm not going to respect this new goofy name.
That's hilarious. I like it.
And then they can't beat Cooper Rush, man. Come on, dog. I'm not finna watch this. Come on. But Diggs, he may not be a shutdown guy, but those top tier wide receivers, he has great days versus those guys, and I think that's valuable. I would much rather, and you could do a quick around the table. I would much rather Diggs here healthy than to try to get some pick for him. You know what I mean? Play and be here.
I just want to be healthy.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. All right, we're gonna take we're taking not just our final break. We're taking a break, a real break. We're gonna be out until training camp. Until training camp begins, we'll get back started once we are out in Oxnard, California. So we'll open up that show. I still have a lot of questions from the 2025 offseason wrap. We'll get to that as we open training camp in Oxnard. But until then, for Voch Lombardi, Bryan Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!